The Center for Audit Quality presents Profession in Focus.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Profession in Focus. I'm Cindy Fernelli, your host today, and I'm very honored to have with me Harvey Pitt as our special guest. Harvey is near and dear to my heart for many reasons. I started my career with Harvey, and it's great to have you here. Harvey is the founder of Kalorama Partners and the former chairman of the SEC, amongst other things that you have on your resume. So thank you for being here with us, Harvey.
It's great to be here, and you have done magnificent things in your career, so it's an honor for me to be with you.
Well, I give you a lot of credit for that, so thank you.
You did it all on your own, but
Not
it's nice
true.
of you to say.
Well, enough of our love fest.
Yes.
Let's turn to, I want to ask you on a more somber note. This year we saw the passing of Representative Mike Oxley, who I know is someone that you worked very closely with, but also is, of course, one of the co-authors of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which is so important to the public company auditing profession. So I wanted to just get your thoughts about the passing of Chairman Oxley, a little bit about what you think his legacy is, and maybe give us a story or two about the drafting of Sarbanes-Oxley. And of course, you were at the SEC when it had to be implemented.
First, let me say, Mike's passing was very sad. He was a remarkable public servant, very smart, very gregarious and outgoing, and always had the public interest in mind. I found Mike to be a pleasure to work with, and I thought we developed a very good synergy, among other things. I would say he's got an enormous legacy. Sarbanes-Oxley came to be after the unraveling of public company accounting and financial statements. For a long time, it appeared there might not even be a Sarbanes-Oxley Act, but Mike Oxley was always in the forefront of wanting to make sure that investors were protected by the laws, that the accounting profession was able to exercise its professional judgment, not burdened by pressures and, shall we say, more mundane issues, and elevate their quality.
You mentioned audit quality, which obviously is something that we care very deeply about at the CAQ. And I know late last year, you were at the University of Delaware's Weinberg Center for Corporate Governance, and you spoke on that very subject. And if I recall correctly, you said something along the lines of we needed to rethink the regime of audit and really refocus, redouble our efforts on quality. So tell us a little bit about what you meant by that and where you think this will head.
Financial reporting is still back in the parchment and quill pen era. We're now in the super technology environment where digitalizing everything becomes crucial. In my view, there are many ways in which we can improve the quality of audits and make better use of technology. And then there are ways in which we can improve the usefulness of financial statements. Right now, first of all, we have different governing systems. There is more of an effort to bring them in line between IFRS and GAAP. But in a sense, I think the U.S. is now an outlier, and that is not a good place for the U.S. to be. The U.S. should be in the forefront of the movement to improve auditing and accounting standards. Secondly, much of what is done is still done manually. What we need to do is make it easier to verify financial segments of financial statements by using technology and digitalizing the documents. We also need to be able to compare various reporting by public companies across an industry or across geographical areas to enable people to spot trends, outliers, and the like. Another real problem with financial statements and auditing is that because individual investors, and even to some extent sophisticated investors, place far more credibility on numbers as they are reported. When you're looking at these long columns and rows with all these numbers, you start to think to yourself, well, this must be accurate. Part of the difficulty is we're not reporting the things that are crucial. We are reporting or required to report many things that have little or no relevance to the concept of investing. And financial statements have grown more complex, but not more comprehensible. So I think the whole purpose of audits has to be rethought, and the certifications that go with audits should make clear what the audit does do, what it does not do, and how investors who want to pursue certain issues can do so, but not assume that those issues have been fully ventilated in a financial statement. There is one more thing that I also thought was important, and that is the need for fraud audits. I believe that you cannot ask the regular outside auditors in their yearly audits to go searching for fraud. They are supposed to be alert to that, and if they find fraud, they are supposed to report it. But forensic auditing can be done, and the costs of it, which are high, can be ameliorated if forensic audits are required periodically by having another firm come in and assess whether there are problematic or troublesome indications within the financial statements that legitimately might not get picked up in a normal audit. I think that would give the public greater confidence in financial statements, and it's something that I believe is long overdue.
Do you think that that's something that technology could help with? That maybe instead of having another firm come in and do that work, that technology could do some of those forensics?
I do, and I think that's an excellent point. And I think there is a need to make greater use of technology. My one concern is, in my view, the importance of audit quality is the single biggest important issue for the profession, which is why the CAQ is so important and is serving such an important function. Independence has sometimes been substituted for audit quality, but they are not synonymous. The one place where independence has a very strong role to play is in not permitting auditors to review their own work. The result of that means that I think a great deal of a forensic audit can potentially be picked up by technology, but for an overarching review, it would be helpful every 3 or 4 or 5 years to have another firm that is devoted solely to forensics with respect to the client come in and take a look to see if there are any potential indications.
Do you worry that regulation is having a hard time keeping pace with the complex demands of our marketplace?
Very much so. I start with the view that the men and women at the SEC in particular are very dedicated to their tasks. They take them very seriously, and they expend often Herculean energy trying to achieve the objectives of the federal securities laws. That said, however, the tasks that keep getting piled onto the SEC really raise important issues about how well anyone can perform. If you look at Dodd-Frank, for example, which imposed about 100 rulemakings on the SEC and 20 studies, it's easy in a sense for Congress to articulate the notion that you should study X or Y. What is less perceived on the part of Congress, and also to some extent on the part of the press, which doesn't often focus on why some things are not getting done, is the fact that to produce a quality rule, particularly in this day and age, or to produce a quality report takes enormous energy. And it is very, very difficult for the staff to do this. I think the SEC has made great strides in using technology to improve its processes, but the government will always be playing catch-up.
Well, Harvey, thank you for taking time to talk to us about these wide-ranging issues. It's been a real honor and a pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me. I think CAQ is doing a phenomenal job, and I commend you for all of these efforts. They're thoughtful, creative, and informative, so thank you.
That will end this session of Profession in Focus. I do hope you will join us again next time.